Hello and welcome to Stand Up World, episode 89. Thanks for returning, joining the first time, whatever. We have an amazing show. Guy that I'm a big fan of, a Nashville boy by the name of Aaron Weber, has a banger of a special called Signature Dish from Nateland Entertainment, an 800-pound gorilla. It's up on YouTube. I think you're going to, I get letters and people texting me and stuff about all the comics that I've turned them on to. If you don't know about this guy, he's going to be another one I'm going to get some letters and texts about. So this is a guy who's, you need to know. If you love stand-up comedy and you love to laugh, this is a guy you need to know. Let's bring him on here. Aaron Weber, how are you, buddy? So good. I'm so happy to have you on this thing.
This is very cool for me. Thank you so much for having me. It's good to talk to you, Mike.
And I know you're killing it. I know you're killing it. You got a new special out, Signature Dish.
Yes, sir.
Which is, surprisingly, some of the subjects are food. I know that's not you like to go to, but you go there. You do go there in the special.
And listen, I like to push boundaries, Mike. I like to push boundaries when I can. It's a lot of nonsense, but I appreciate it, man. Thank you. I was really happy with how as happy as you can be with something. Like, I still hate watching myself on some level anytime I do anything, but this was as happy as I've ever been with something I've taped. So I'm pretty proud of it.
Yeah, I thought it was good. Like I said, I thought it was well directed because I liked you get right into it,
Right.
And you shot it at your home club, Zany's.
Zany's, right.
And
Zany's just opened up a smaller room. So it's the first thing that's ever been taped in the new room at Zany's.
Oh, is that
so
in the new
for
room?
The longest time, right. It's in the new room called the Lab. It's like a 100-seat room. Literally right next door to the main room. Yeah, not connected. You have to go outside to get in there, but it shares a wall with it. So it's practically the same building. And it's the first thing they've ever taped in there. And they really did a good job making it look like they rented a curtain and modified the stage. And it looked great.
Well, Aaron, when they're going all out and renting a curtain, they're thinking they got big hopes for the special.
Thank you, man. That's when I knew it was real. When I saw the curtain, I go, this might be legit.
They were sitting there, they were just kind of scratching their chin going, I don't know about you guys, but I think we're going to have to rent a curtain for this one. Yeah, let's do it. I didn't realize, I thought the Lab was in that originally. I was told, the Lab was just down that little place down the street, like a door down. I didn't realize it shared a wall. It's right there in the same building.
Yeah, it's been for years. It was a furniture store, but Zany's owned the building. They just leased it out to this furniture store. And then the furniture store either went bankrupt or they died or something. So it just sat vacant for a while. And then they finally turned it into the small room. Nothing has changed the Nashville comedy scene for the better and more quickly than that room opening up. I was so excited to have.
Tell me why, because Dorf is a buddy of mine. I love Zany's, and God, I played Zany's when I was a kid in Chicago. I love that room. I love the big room, but I've never. Tell me about the Lab and why it's changed everything.
Well, it's small enough that only so many shows can sell 300 tickets on a Tuesday or a Wednesday. So if you have a smaller room, that allows you to do more experimental shows. You can do more local showcases. It's given a lot of local comics a chance to run their own shows and try to do different things. And it just doubled the stage time for me. And I think more important for younger comics than me is it's another room to aspire to. When I started, it was like, you want to work at Zany's. So you work hard at the open mics, you do independent shows so you can get spots at Zany's. Zany's doubled effectively overnight in the amount of spots that they can give, probably more than that. So it's like it's a very motivating thing for young comics that they can, they can get on stage as zanies quickly and get meaningful stage time much more easily.
That's great. Now, tell me, you're just chill. You had a baby too, right?
I did, yes, sir. Late September. So
That's
she
great.
she just turned 6 months.
That's congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
we
It's
were
great.
in town. We were in town at the doing a thing at the Ryman. I remember calling you. You said, we got baby.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it was a while before we were comfortable. We just had a few nights, my wife and I, where we're both away from the house at the same time. It's kind of fun. It's kind of fun to get back to a little bit of how it used to be. We're still figuring out the routine with me being on the road, Lucy working, and the baby. I don't know if we'll ever totally crack it, but we're figuring out how to deal with it.
My kids are 30 and 32, and we still need a babysitter if we go out. Really, it's scary. I hear other people don't have that problem, but I do need to get a babysitter.
Yeah,
if we're going to go somewhere.
right.
That's a lot. That's because my kids are a little strange. But
I hear you.
We can get into that later.
Okay.
So and now you're also tell me, what are you doing? You're traveling around. I know you're opening for Nate a lot, right? And other acts guys, but are
Only
you those?
I'd say for the past 2 years, it's mostly been me headlining my own things primarily.
That's great.
Thank you, man. That was the kind of the next big step. There were a handful of people where I was just around at the right time, and they believed in me and took me on the road. It was Dusty Slay at first. He took me on these Yoder runs all around the Midwest, doing one-nighters, bad shows, some good shows, and then it was Henry Cho as a guy who really took me on the road for a long time. There were plenty of times where I looked at my calendar and it was all Henry Cho dates. So I really, really owe him a lot. And then it was John Christ and Kathleen Madigan, and then eventually Nate. And those guys just took me on the road before I even felt like I was ready to do it. So it's just right place, right time, man. I was in the room, and for whatever reason, I got to link up with those people, and I've been very lucky.
Great. Yeah, I mean, listen, that's quite a list. When you talk about John Cho and Dusty Slay and Kathleen Madigan and man, that's a list. Let alone Nate's gonna eventually pop, but I just I feel like it'll happen.
The funny thing about Nate is when I started doing the podcast with him in 2020, now once a week something happens to Nate that we would have devoted an entire episode of the podcast to 5 years ago. And now we barely even mention. I just got to the hotel. I'm here in Austin. I got to my hotel. I opened up Instagram and I see that Nate is hosting the Emmys.
Is he really? Oh, that's great.
I had no clue that this was even on the table. So it's just, it's tough to even keep up as close as I am to him. It's tough to keep up with everything.
He'll be great at it too. No, Nate's great. But let me tell you, man, I feel like, first of all, yeah, you're right. You got in with a lucky crowd, and I feel like that is a good. But you really belong in that crowd, Aaron. The more I watch your work, I mean, I remember I just met you. I think just hanging out one night at the Nashville Comedy Festival, and you're such a nice guy, and I didn't even realize how good you were until I saw your stand up. But
thanks, man.
You just have that kind of ability that you fit that great sound. It's like,
thanks, man.
It's, I put it this way in terms of stand-up comedy. It's like a bunch of singer-songwriters hang out together, a bunch of heavy metal people, a group. There's that you guys all kind of fit together and it makes sense, and you're a perfect piece of that puzzle of you guys are. And I don't even mean to stereotype you to say you're all clean comics,
right,
but because that's not, to me, the biggest headline. I think the biggest headline, I feel like you're middle Americans. You're
Yeah.
I'll tell you another guy, and I know he's not quite in that group with you, but I know you know him, and Nate knows him. I met him. Actually, Nate turned me on to him. Is Greg Warren,
Yeah.
who is one of my favorite comedians.
Yeah. I've told people I think Greg is probably the most underrated stand-up in the country.
I agree.
And guys that know him, like you, comics that have been around that know him, they know he's great. Maybe last year I was doing the Omaha Funny Bone, and Greg was doing a corporate in Omaha, and he hit me up about, he didn't even ask for a spot. I was like, obviously, if you want to come by and do the show, please. And I remember he just walked out there and did 10 straight minutes on Walgreens. And I'm in the back just howling, laughing. It's so silly. It's so well written. And he takes a topic and just squeezes it.
Well, that's what I was just saying.
Nothing.
That's why I brought Greg up. And what I like about what you guys do, and it's not that it's clean, it's everyday life. I saw you do 10 minutes on a hot dog you once had, which is just, and it's just great stuff.
Thanks, man.
It's just great stuff. And it's a form of stand-up comedy that is so wonderful to watch, and for audiences love it. I was walking with a good buddy today who's a great comic too, is a director, but he's also a great comic too, Judd Apatow. And we were talking, he was talking about one of his friends. I'm blanking on Pete Holmes.
Yeah.
And Pete is talking about doing an all clean show, a tour, right? Even though that's nice, and I was saying, here's the thing. We're at a place now that I think a lot of comics, you can either do, it would be very successful to put together just an X-rated show or a straight clean show.
Mm-hmm.
People like one or the other, but the truth of the matter is people just like funny.
Right.
Right. And I was just saying, I get the idea of needing to brand a show, an all clean show. But the fact is, I don't think any of the reason why Nate is successful or any Dusty Slay or any of you guys is because you're clean. It's just because it's funny.
Well, thank you. That's definitely what I try to do. And I honestly don't even think about it for myself anymore. I mean, I don't know if I ever really did. It was always kind of what I did. And now if I'm writing something or I'm thinking of a story to tell, I don't even think in terms of clean and dirty. The only time I have to really think about it is when I'm picking the openers on my own show, just because people now, if they do come to see me because they know me, they expect the show to be that. So that's the only time I really have to think about it. The interesting thing about Pete Holmes, and I won't speak for Pete, I don't know him super well. I've only met him a couple times, and God knows he knows more about marketing his own show than I do about mine.
Yeah, I don't know him at all. I don't know him at all.
The last time I saw Pete, I'm trying to think back. I mean, he could have just done that hour clean and not even said anything, and nobody would have noticed. And that's kind of that's the best compliment that I ever get on the road, is if a comic works with me or somebody from the club at the end of the weekend goes, "Oh, I just noticed you were clean." That's really the best. Really that's the best. Yeah.
It's really funny because I was going to come do the Ryman, and I was there the night before, and I wanted to go up a Zanies, just to do some local jokes and get ready to do the show. And Dusty Slay was doing a show there. And Dorf says, "Yeah, no, Dusty loves it if you'll do it. You just got to be clean." And I thought about it. I thought, oh man, no one's but told me to be clean in years. No one told me what you could or couldn't do. And there was a part of me, I don't want to be told what to do, you know.
Yeah.
And, and he said, "You just Dusty's clean. You know, his audience, that's what they want to see." And I'm not clean. I'm not clean, and I'm not dirty. I just, I don't know, man. I'm, I'm doing what I do, and I do
Yeah.
it, you know. And but it was fun to. It was a challenging, but it made me think, because I don't ever think about it at all since I've been back doing stand up. I've only been back doing it 2 years, you know.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you know, when I was a kid and doing it, you had to think clean because you'd have to do the Tonight Show, you know.
Right. Right.
But now, since I've been back, I don't really think like that. I just think, man, I want to kill.
Yeah.
You
Yeah. I don't blame you. And
know?
that's interesting because that's not a muscle that I would say guys my age or younger even have to think about ever. Like like getting on TV is not a goal. You know what I mean? For
Right.
these younger comics. So like when am
No,
I ever gonna have to be clean? I'll just do whatever I want whenever I want.
that's
And you're
right.
like, all right, I mean that's totally fair. But I have comedian friends of mine, younger guys who are very funny and they'll ask me every now and then, you know, they'll ask me for advice or whatever. And I go, you don't have to be clean, but like, you know, if you say the F word every other word, starts to lose its power a little bit. Why don't you save it for where it actually serves a joke?
Yeah, that's right.
That's the only advice I give
I
younger guys.
I try to save it for when I'm talking to my wife. You
There
know,
you go.
don't let me get out of the room.
That's
You know,
right. Yes, sir.
and if I keep it rare, she knows I'm serious.
That's right. That's right. And if you say it all the time,
She'll just go,
you're the boy who cried wolf.
yeah, that boy who cried F.
Yeah.
Um, so let me ask you something. God, when I met you, you seemed like you were really you seemed so eager. You're a nice guy, like so into comedy. Did you
Right.
just grow up into comedy? Did you love it growing up, or what was your deal?
I was a big fan of it. I had two or three specials memorized back to back that I would perform for the family. I performed for my friends on field trips. So I was always a fan of it. I always liked public speaking. I did
You grew up in
debate.
Alabama, right?
I grew up in Montgomery, Alabama. In the middle of high school, I moved to Nashville, Tennessee, where I still live.
Wow.
So I've been there. I've been there longer than I was in Alabama. So more than half my life is in Nashville now. But I always did public speaking. I liked, you know, there's a part of me that's very vain where I like people listening to me
Yeah.
talk. So I did mock trial in high school. I did debate anytime I could speak in front of people. It wasn't until kind of after college that I merged those two things and started doing open mics in Nashville.
What did you study in college to get you ready, or did you not? We weren't thinking about that then.
I wasn't thinking about it till the end. And I don't even remember what I would tell people that I wanted to do. I wasn't thinking that far. I worked really hard to get into college in high school that when I got there, I wasn't thinking about that was the end for me. It wasn't a means to another end. So I was a bad student, academic probation twice. I never had like any, I was done with academia. I'll tell you that. What was I going to say? I got lost. I got lost in my own narcissism here for a
You know,
second.
you said you weren't a great student and you weren't thinking about getting into stand up at the end.
Yeah, I was a philosophy major and a marketing major. So I was in the business school and then studied philosophy.
Jay
So
Leno used to have a bit. I remember years ago, he'd say, "I was a philosophy major in college. I had dreams of one day opening up my own little philo shop right on the corner."
yeah, that's great. Yeah, that's like I don't even remember what I would tell people I would do with my philosophy degree. I guess you go get a master's or a doctorate,
Yeah.
or you know you go to law school or something. I don't know. I liked it. I liked it's one of the few subjects that I really enjoyed like diving into and reading about. But I wasn't thinking that far ahead. All roads were kind of leading me, even whether I knew it or not, to doing this. I think.
And you like Nashville?
Love Nashville.
Yeah, I do too.
Love Nashville. We, my wife and I, got a house there, raising the baby there. We think that's barring something. You never say never, but barring something crazy, I think I'm going to stay there for the foreseeable future. That being said, like I'm here in Austin, I'm doing a Moon Tower Comedy Festival this week.
Oh,
I
good.
still, and I think it's fine to live out of Nashville and work out of Nashville, but I do feel like I need to pop my head into LA or Austin or New York every now and then, just to remind people that I'm still doing this.
What
But
the Moon Tower is that getting to be a big festival?
it feels like it. The last time I did it two or 3 years ago, Just for Laughs owned it, and then I don't really know, with everything with Just for Laughs up in the air. I don't know who's running it or really, but there's a lot of great comics here. I was just in the hotel lobby. Todd Barry walked by me in the lobby downstairs. And then there's just a lot of guys that I know around. It feels a bit like a stand-up summer camp here. So I'm
I
pretty
know
excited. It'll be a fun few
Paul is
days.
doing a show there.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I'm on a show with tonight. I think Pauly Shore's closing out the show I'm on tonight
Where?
at Sun's sorry, I'm not super familiar with it. It's Sunset.
Hmm.
It's on 6th Street. I think it's right around the corner. Everything is that's the cool thing about Austin, I'll say, is how centrally located all these rooms are. That I'm
Well,
staying right around 6th Street. I'm
I
just about to
think the
walk out.
Nashville Comedy Festival is the best. Yeah, I love that festival.
The Nashville one?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
don't know why. I've had good times there. I just think it's great acts, and
Mhm.
I don't know if I ever told you when I met you. I was in Nashville for a couple of years working on the show Nashville. You know,
I didn't know that.
yeah, and I fell in love with the town. And
Wow.
I love it. And I just there's a couple times places I wanted to buy there, and
Yeah.
it's just
Yeah.
my wife just kind of wants me to wait. But I can't. There's That's really the place that I would move out of LA to in a minute.
I love that. I didn't know you were involved in Nashville. I had to follow Charles Eston at the Opry a couple times.
Oh yeah, yeah. He's
And
a good
that
friend of
dude,
mine.
you
Chip.
want to talk about I just learned the term multi-hyphenate. You want to talk about, that's that guy. I mean, that guy, so talented, and he's crushing between songs. I told him when we passed each other, I had to follow him. I don't appreciate you getting that big of laughs as a musician. This isn't fair. I can't play a song if a joke doesn't work.
Yeah, that's really
This is all I
yeah,
got up here.
true. Well, his background, he started it on that improv show.
I remember him on Who's Line as Chip.
Yeah, Whose
That's
Line?
how I first knew him.
No, he's a buddy of mine. Actually, we're working together on something right now. So I talked to him a lot, and
Awesome.
that guy is a great songwriter,
Mhm.
and that guy sold out the Royal Albert Hall in London by himself.
Wow.
And
If he were good looking, he'd be a star, I think.
that's what I always tell him. That his looks are holding him back. But I've gone out there on that with him to the Opry a few times. To play that when he played it. That's always fun.
Well, how'd you like the Ryman, Mike? Was that your first time performing there?
My second. I liked it a lot. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's great. I love that room.
It's really, really great.
I really do. It's a great room. It's a great room. But I was on a great show, Russell Brand and Jim Brewer and Rob Schneider and Dave Landau.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I remember seeing the lineup. That was a very good show.
And
there's
Steve
Byrne.
Steve Byrne came in as a guest, and the audience just was loving it.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I just got to go up there. We did like a Nateland showcase. Nate's production company did a show at the Ryman as part of the Nashville Festival, and I hosted it. And Yakov Smirnoff did a guest spot.
Oh,
I got to
that's
bring
great.
him out. He gets a standing O. He had a great set, and it was just, yeah, it's just a
Wait, he got
special
a
room
standing O coming out?
after a set.
Oh, after his set. That's great.
Now, I think I was so curious, and I was talking to Brian Dorfman about this, about what the reaction of the crowd would be. And it was kind of a trickling realization of who he was for the first minute or so. It wasn't like immediate name recognition. But as he started talking and I think they started to realize, oh, Yakov Smirnoff. And then the set went so well that it was a very just organic.
Well, I'm really
standing
happy
out.
to have you hear you say that because he's going to be on my show Monday night at the Laugh Factory. I do a Monday night show, and he just got a text from him. He wants to be on the show. Come on down,
Yeah, tell him I said hi. I got to hang out
will.
with Yakov a lot last week. Such an interesting guy. He has the coolest piece of comedy memorabilia I've ever seen. That Comedy Store jacket that he wears, where I asked him a little bit about it, where he said his class was Robin Williams and Howie Mandel, and there's one other bit, Richard Pryor. I'm trying to remember. It's some insane group of comedians, and he's got the anniversary jacket on. So it's really fun to talk to him about all that.
Yeah, no, it's great. Listen. I lived up in a house with him. We had a house
Really?
on the hill up above the Comedy Store.
Whoa! I didn't know you went that far back with him.
Did you ever see the Comedy Store documentary?
I did. I didn't care for the directing.
Oh, you
But
didn't
I
like
like.
it? Yeah, I didn't either. You know
No,
what happened was
I love
you
the
left the lens cap on too many times.
I love the documentary. Yeah. So my wife is a comedy junkie too. She's more into kind of the history of it in a lot of ways than I am. So we watched that document. We watched the whole series together and loved it.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I know Lucy knows her stuff.
Mhm.
But I was just going to say, Yakov was in that, and we were talking about the early days with Howie, and
All right.
and because they had such good stories,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we met in Missouri when he was, he's got a theater out there, and then he popped by and did a spot on my show in Springfield, Missouri. So that's where we first met. So then it's fun to run into him again at the Nashville Comedy Festival. That's what you were saying.
You're playing clubs all through the heart of the country, right?
Yeah. Every now and then I'll kind of, if you were to put them on a map, I mean, probably most of them are Southeast, Midwest. I'm starting to branch out and do more West Coast stuff and Northeast stuff, but kind of it's all a little radius around Nashville. That's how I started. So
and you drive it or you fly it?
I'm not driving as much as I used to. I used to really put in some miles. I used to think anything more than 12, 13 hours I'll fly. So I was driving a lot. I was driving too much, honestly. It didn't even make sense financially a lot of times, but I just felt like I needed to drive and have a car. Now with the baby, I'm like, I got to kind of maximize my time at home. So I'm flying more than I used to. But man, I put in some long road trips up from Nashville up to Wisconsin, and then North Dakota, South Dakota, Texas, and Oklahoma. And
what about Detroit?
Those are fun times.
I
was just in Detroit. It was just in Detroit in January during the Lions playoff game.
Wow!
And
did you play the Rivers Club?
No, I did House of Comedy right downtown.
That? Oh yeah, that's the John Tobin's club.
Yeah, it was good. We consolidate. I did the honorable thing, and I consolidated my shows to allow the Lions to sell tickets.
Yeah, that's good
to the game. But yeah, that was my first time doing comedy in Detroit, and I liked it. I like Michigan. It's like that's kind of the fun thing I've learned about traveling. I spent most of my life Alabama and Tennessee before I started doing comedy, and people are not that different in places. Like a lot of people I met in Michigan, you could tell me they're from Alabama if not for the accent.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the fun thing to learn, is that we're all pretty much the same. We're just dressed a little different.
Yeah. Well, I think especially in the middle country,
Hmm.
I feel like the people on the coasts are different, but I think the Midwesterners and the Southern, I mean, I'm getting ready to work in Birmingham, Alabama,
Oh,
and
no, have you done that club before?
no, not a club, not a
Oh,
club. I'm
okay.
working on a movie, you
Oh,
know.
nice.
But yeah, no, is there a club there? I didn't even know if there was a club there.
There's a club in Hoover, Alabama, um, a little suburb of Birmingham, called Stardome Comedy Club.
Hmm.
It was called the Birmingham Comedy Club for years, and then it famously burned down with all of Carrot Top's props
Is that true?
in the building. Yeah. So the place burned to the ground with Carrot Top's prop, his chest burned.
Wow.
Um, and then they rebuilt it and rebranded it the Stardome Comedy Club. So that's kind of a fun piece of history when you're there.
Wow.
The
Well,
Yeah.
that's too bad. I mean, when your act goes up in flames like that, you know.
I know, it's pretty crazy.
I've
Pretty
been
crazy
doing
when you
this
think about
joke.
it.
I've been doing this joke all the last couple of weeks about how I had to rewrite half my act because Elon Musk and Doge got a hold of it and they found all this waste and fraud. So I'm like, I had to start almost over.
Trimmed all the
Yeah,
fat's
it's
gone.
like, geez. And I was usually I end with this transgender themed cowboy song, country song. It was composed by the Ukrainian League of Preschool Gay Men, but that the U.S. taxpayers spent $86 million on.
Yeah.
I'm not allowed to do it anymore. So
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm just gonna sing YMCA as I leave.
Oh, that's great.
But and yeah, you listen, man. We're just lucky guys. I love doing it. I when you were talking about going to all those clubs when I was a kid, I used as a kid, I like in my late 20s, early 30s, I just played all the clubs, and I would love to just go everywhere and headline clubs. That was the first wave of comedy clubs, and
Yeah.
and I had so much. It was such a good time in my life, you know.
Yes. It's still very fun for me. And I just worked with a guy, a super young comic in Kansas City, and it was his first time working the club. And he was in the green room that he had never been in before, and was so excited and just blown away by these things that I now just consider routine things. He couldn't believe there's a fridge in the green room that had Red Bulls. Like, and it was really kind of nice to see, because I do remember a time not that long ago where that kind of stuff was exciting, to be at a
Yeah,
show where they cared that you were there, and the green room has its, first of all, to have a green room, and then you've got your own bathroom in the green room. I was watching this guy be very excited. It reminded me, like, I don't have the right to be jaded about any of this yet. Like, this is all very fun and exciting, and I should enjoy it as much as he does.
you remind me of a funny story. When I made my first movie, my first feature film, I was in uh, Hennepin, Hennepin. I did a place called just basically it was Minneapolis, a little town just outside of Minneapolis, and we were shooting this downtown scene. It was a Touchstone film called Crossing the Bridge, and it was set in the 70s, and this was like the 90s, and we had found this street that looked like it could be a period thing, and we had all these extras on it. And this older guy comes up to me, he's probably 50, sadly, and he says, "Oh man, I'm so excited! I made the movie. You don't remember me?" I said, "No, no. You came to my house the crew, you guys were looking for houses and you didn't pick my house, but I made the movie. I'm so excited. They got me in wardrobe and they got me this. They got me, and we just talked for a minute. This guy and I he was telling me, I didn't know that you did this when you were in a movie and you're acting in a movie, and he was an extra.
Yeah.
We start the scene, the scene, and we got a big crane coming up, and all of a sudden the producer goes, "We got to stop. We got to stop. Someone had a heart attack." Sadly, it was
sorry.
this guy.
Sorry.
This guy had a heart attack and died on the set.
Oh my goodness!
I might have been the last person he talked to.
Wow.
And I mean, and again, I was about 29 years old at the time. It blew my mind. I couldn't. And the producer was like, "You got to snap out of it. You got to shoot." They were like, the ambulance came. They took the guy, and they were like, "You got to go. We got to shoot." And we ended up dedicating the movie to him at the end, in memoriam at the end of the movie. Yeah. But this guy was so excited, it killed him. It was like, I kept saying it. Everyone, the rest of it, don't get too excited on this movie, okay?
It's not that great, guys. It's not that great.
We're not having that much fun. Remember that.
Well, I'm sorry I laughed so hard at the beginning. I didn't know it would end like that.
No, it's a crazy story.
Yeah.
Well, another nutty story about that.
Yeah, I want to hear it. Go ahead.
Oh. I hate to do this on my podcast, but I tell story, but I get talking.
Yeah.
That same movie, again, first thing I've ever done. We're out there and we're in a field, and it was basically about a bunch of guys growing up in Detroit in the 70s, my life, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it was David Schwimmer and Stephen Baldwin and Josh Charles, and do you know those guys?
Yeah, sure.
And it's all their first movie. We're all brand new,
Yeah.
And we're doing this scene where David Schwimmer's smoking a joint, telling them that he's sending them on a drug run, and we're shooting it outside in the day. And Josh Charles is playing a character based on myself, and he's reading them a story. He says, "I'm going to go to LA one day and be a television writer." And he's reading them a story, a spec episode of Gilligan's Island that he wrote. And they're going, wait a minute. And in the episode, Mrs. Howell dies, right? And they're all going, wait a minute. And they're going, "More, Mrs. Howell dies? You're writing an episode where Mrs. Howell dies?" And he goes, "It's a dream sequence. It's a fantasy." Let me finish. And we spend the whole day shooting this thing where Mrs. Howell dies, right? Right?
Yeah.
This was the first day of shooting. Then I go back to the hotel, and like in the movies, I turn the TV on and CNN's on, and it goes, so, the woman that played Mrs. Howell on Gilligan's Island died today. And I went, oh my God. I was numb. I swear this happened exactly like this. This woman, the day she died, a bunch of young guys were in a field filming a scene about her character dying. It just all the days in the world. It's just it was so weird.
Yeah, that's crazy. How old was she?
She was about 80 at the time, Oh, she was ready to go. Now the other guy killed.
The other guy had life to live.
Yeah.
We have a running joke on Nate's podcast that every time Brian, who does the podcast with it, every time he mentions somebody, they die within a week. And it's born true like 5 or 6 times. He'll talk about somebody and then they just die. He did it with Bob Newhart. He did it with Willie Mays. He did it with a bunch of people. But he had the point. He was like, these people are 100. Like the odds are they're gonna die
Yeah,
pretty soon,
yeah,
whether I mention them or not.
yeah. He was picking. He was
Mhm.
building the lily there a little bit.
Yeah, for sure.
How often do you guys do that show?
We do it once a week.
Oh
We
yeah,
tape it. Part of the cool thing about the new room at Zany's is the podcast studio is built right into it now.
oh,
So
you keep it at Zany's?
yeah, for
I
the
bet you did
first
that at Nate's house.
that's what we did for the first 3.5, 4 years. It was in Nate's office in his
Yeah, that's what
house.
I thought.
And then part of the new room is there's a podcast studio back there, and we do it right there. So that's really cool. Like we try to time it to where we can end the podcast and then just walk out and do spots. So we'll
And
be at towards the end of the podcast, we hear the room getting seated right
that's
outside.
great. And what
Yeah,
day
it's
do you
awesome.
usually do it?
What's that? We do it Mondays.
Mondays? And
Yeah.
and is that the only podcast they do there?
A few local comics will shoot it in there. They kind of cover up all the because the studio is like a shrine to Nate's accomplishments, and we've got some stuff up too. So they cover it up with like black sheets. And I think like Legion of Skanks just taped there during the festival. So it's used, other comics can use it, but it's definitely it was built by Nate. So it's all kind of tailored around him.
Um, and how is the comedy scene there? I know Court McCowan's there full time.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Court's there. Court's always hanging out at the
He's
club.
a good
Court's great.
guy.
We've got, it's interesting. I feel like even since I've started, I've seen kind of ebbs and flows with the energy of the scene. I think. I think every now and then something will happen. It'll get re-energized and things are good. I don't really know where we're at right now. I know the difference is that we've got a lot of guys sticking around now, and that's exciting because for the longest time it was the minute you got anything going in Nashville, you moved to Los Angeles or you moved to New York. And we've had a lot of guys do that. I started with Jordan Jensen in Nashville, and then she's moved out to New York. She's doing theaters now. And then I started with Laura Peak, who's now regular at the Comedy Store. And I started with a comic named Casey Shornima, who's now a writer on the Saturday Night Live. So these people who are all friends of mine is they get good and then they move, right? But I think what's exciting is guys like Dusty Slay doing all of this out of Nashville, getting Netflix specials, selling out theaters, and he's doing it out of Nashville. So I'm going to stick around, and I think a lot of guys are planning on sticking around. We're
Well,
going to
Nate's
really
still there, right?
Nate's there, but Nate's kind of he's adding a show at the Roman Coliseum every weekend. So it's like he's there, but he's everywhere.
Right.
Now that I don't want to understate the impact Nate has had. Just him being around is huge.
Yeah.
The first night that the lab opened, we did an open mic, and we haven't had an open mic at Zany's in a long time. And Nate did the open mic, so he will pop in. And I remember years ago seeing him pop in at local shows, and that was very validating to see this
And what about
established.
Steve Byrne? He's there, right?
Yeah, I think Steve's around all the time. Steve's great. He used to do a monthly show at the club. I can't remember if he still does, but yeah, Steve's awesome. He'll pop in. We've had nights at Zany's, not to degrade the Comedy Store or any of these legendary places, but we've had lineups that I look at it and I go, that rivals a Comedy Store lineup. If it's Nate, Kathleen Madigan, Theo Vaughn, Dusty Slay, John Chris.
That guy Joe. So what's his name? So funny.
Joe.
He does a show with Steve.
Joe Gatto.
Joe Gatto, right?
Yeah, he's not in Nashville, but because he did that show with Steve, he was around. Yeah, he did the New Material Monday not too long ago.
Oh, I thought he was a Nashville guy.
No, he's definitely not.
Fuck him. Hey, you see how I saved that word?
There you go. That
You
was
see
good.
what I did
That's the
there?
first time. It's the first time you said it the whole podcast, Mike, and I really
I
felt it.
scored it up.
The hair on the back of my neck stood up when you said it.
Oh no, he's a funny guy though. That guy.
That's what I heard. Yeah.
You you never saw him?
Never. I've seen the show on Practical Jokers, but I've never seen his stand up.
Oh wow. No, I thought he was like a big Zanies guy.
No, I think he's done a lot of shows there, but he's not like a local guy by any stretch, I think. But we've got great comics there that are sticking around. I hope that continues to be the case. I think we've got a good thing going there for sure.
Yeah, you do. And listen, man, you're taking off. You watch next couple of years. You're not the stuff you're talking about now. You're not even just same thing like you're saying with Nate. I can't even believe we're not making a big deal about it.
From your lips to God's ears, Mike. That sounds great to me.
Aaron. I really
thank you, buddy.
You coming on, and
anytime.
You did a great job at Signature Dish.
Thank you, dude.
And I'm going to Seattle to have one of those hot dogs just because of you.
Hey man. You know what? Because of that bit, I had the guy I talk about in that joke DM'd me. The actual vendor of that Seattle dog. He DM'd me and said, like 10,000 people have sent me this bit. And he DM'd me and he said, next time you're in Seattle, he's writing a book about the history of the Seattle dog. I don't know how that's going to translate to a book, but he wants me to meet up. So, that bit's really taken off in Seattle. So.
I bet. I thought you were going to say, next time you can tell, I'm giving you a free dog.
Yeah, well, that's all I want. I imagine he'll hook me up if I see him again. But yeah, have fun in Seattle, man.
Listen, man, be well and say hi to everybody. Say hi to Lucy and Dorf and all that cast of characters for me.
Will do. Say hi to Yakov for me.
Okay, I will.
See you guys. Bye.
Aaron Weber, what else can I say? Signature Dish. Check out his special. He's great. We'll see him at Zanies in Nashville and on the road. Again, he's from Nateland Entertainment. You can see it there. You can check him out on that podcast they do there. Those kids down there in Nashville. And an 800-pound gorilla. And that's it for me. Don't forget, if you're in LA, on Monday nights, I'm at the Laugh Factory with Mike Binder and friends. I have a great show this week. Some of my old buddies, some of my new buddies. Always having fun. And next week, here on this podcast, very interesting comedian, someone I think you will find interesting as well. Thanks again for your time. Mike out. Love you.